All right, let's just get right to it. Forget everything you thought you knew about this NFL season because it's over. That trade deadline wasn't just a ripple, it was a tidal wave, and it completely reset the board for Week 11. All those team records, suddenly they're pretty misleading, and everything we thought was a sure thing is about to get a serious reality check.
So this is the big question, right? Who's for real and who is just a paper tiger kind of waiting to get exposed? This is what we're going to figure out. Let's dive in. You see, that deadline, it wasn't just about shuffling players around from team to team. It literally created 4 new kinds of teams. And if you can understand these 4 archetypes, you'll know exactly who to trust and, maybe more importantly, who to stay away from in Week 11. Their records just don't tell the full story anymore.
So here they are, the 4 new archetypes shaping the league. First, you've got your all-in buyers, like the Cowboys, who just went for it. Then there are the desperation buyers, looking at you, Raiders, making moves that are already starting to sting. You've got your ill-fated teams, like Philly, whose master plan just blew up in their face. And of course, the white flag sellers, like the Jets, who are basically packing it in and thinking about next year. Okay, let's use Dallas as our prime example. Their 3-5-1 record, you can basically throw that in the trash. Why? Because they took one of the absolute worst defenses in the league and just plugged in 2 elite game-wrecking studs. This is not the same Cowboys team we saw a few weeks ago, not even close. And then, you've got the Raiders on the other side of the coin. They also made a big splash, bringing in Geno Smith. But this wasn't a power move. It was a panic move. Now they're saddled with a QB who, oh by the way, leads the entire league in interceptions. That trade didn't solve a problem. It just cemented them as a team you probably want to bet against. But hey, you don't have to make a trade to be a fraud, right? Some teams have just been getting by on pure dumb luck, while others are just completely falling apart from the inside. Let's look at a couple of perfect examples. And Exhibit A has to be the Chicago Bears. That winning record of theirs is maybe the biggest lie in the entire league right now. They are the definition of a paper tiger. So how in the world are they pulling this off? Well, it all comes down to this number right here. They are feasting on turnovers, leading the NFL. But here's the thing about turnover margin. A lot of it is just pure luck. A weird bounce of the football, a tip to pass. You can't build a sustainable winning formula on that. And here's the proof. Here's where it all falls apart. While their luck is number 1, their actual skill, their efficiency, what we call DVOA, is ranked a pathetic 25th. That is a massive, massive gap between how they look on paper and how good they actually are. Look, at the end of the day, the numbers just don't lie. This is a house of cards, and it's about to come tumbling down. The data is screaming that the Bears are due for a big-time correction, and it's probably going to start this week. And if you think the Bears are on thin ice, just wait till you see the Giants. This isn't a team, it's a 5-alarm fire. They fired their head coach, but for some reason kept the defensive coordinator who's been failing all year. Now you've got a brand new interim coach calling the shots, and he's starting Jameis Winston, one of the biggest gunslingers in the league. This whole situation is just pure chaos. Okay, let's switch it up. We've talked players, we've talked chaos, now let's talk plays. Because sometimes winning isn't about who you have, it's about what you do. It's about having a game plan, a scheme that is just perfectly built to take your opponent apart. And this brings us right back to those lucky Bears. Well, their luck's about to run out because they're walking straight into a buzzsaw. The Vikings run this incredible, kind of revolutionary defense. They show you this soft, passive look with 2 deep safeties, and then bam, they send the house from totally unexpected angles. It's a system designed to create pure confusion, and it is an absolute nightmare for rhythm-based offenses like Chicago's. Now, let's talk about another defensive philosophy that's just brutal. It's the man-heavy defense. Think Steelers, Browns, Lions. Their whole attitude is basically, our athletes are better than your athletes. Try and beat us one-on-one. They trust their guys on an island and just let their monstrous defensive line go hunt. And this attitude creates an absolute nightmare scenario for the Bengals this week. They're starting a 40-year-old Joe Flacco, who can't really move anymore, in winds that are supposed to be whipping at 30 miles per hour. He's going up against a defense that won't give him any easy throws and has a D-line that's going to live in his lap all day. I mean, that is just a recipe for disaster. Okay, for our last piece of the puzzle, let's talk about the wild cards. The things you just can't always predict. Or maybe you can. We're talking about weather,
game-changing injuries, and a showdown between two absolute juggernauts.
So the Buffalo Bills, they have a very, very clear identity. They are an elite passing team. That's how they win football games. But the flip side of that is that they are absolutely terrible at stopping the run, one of the worst in the league. And here's the problem. The forecast for their game isn't just a little breezy. We are talking about 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts. That's not just weather, that's a game-altering force of nature, and it's aimed squarely at Buffalo's biggest strength. So the question becomes, what happens when a team that lives in the air is suddenly told they can't fly? It forces them to rely on their defense and their ground game, which, as we just saw, plays right into their biggest weakness. This is a perfect storm, literally, for an upset. And now, the main event, Seahawks versus Rams. Look, this isn't just the game of the week, this is a historically massive matchup. It is only the 26th time since 1978 that the number 1 and number 2 teams in DVOA have squared off. We are talking about an absolute clash of titans. So while that epic battle is happening, another supposed contender is basically on life support. The Broncos' 8-2 record looks amazing, but their defense, the unit that got them there, is functionally broken. They're missing their top cornerback and their defensive play caller. That is a fatal combination when you're about to go up against Patrick Mahomes. Okay, that was a lot, I know. We've hit the trades, the fakes, the schemes, the wild cards. So now, let's put it all together. Here is your ultimate cheat sheet for every single game in Week 11.
So let's run through the big ones real quick. The Cowboys' brand new defense should be way too much for the struggling Raiders. We've got the Buccaneers on a huge weather-based upset alert against the Bills. The Vikings' crazy scheme is the perfect weapon to expose the Bears. We're picking the Packers just to fade the absolute chaos in New York. The Steelers' defense plus that wind is a terrible mix for the Bengals. And the clash of the Titans, give me the Rams at home. And yeah, the Chiefs should have a field day against the injury-riddled Broncos defense. Every prediction, every reason why, it's all right there for you.
So there you have it. The whole board has been shaken up. The season has been reset, and it's created a week that is just full of mismatches and upset opportunities. The only question left is, when all the dust settles on Sunday, which teams will look like geniuses for the moves they made, and which ones will be remembered as a total disaster?